talk
I've
through.
never heard that.
Yeah,
It
look
must
it
be a
up.
closely held secret.
Oh,
I can, yeah,
Tricks of the trade. I doubt you would see it
I
outside.
can
international
hear Laurel in the
Chick,
council.
chick. Ha. It is.
So we want, can we have Derek test again?
Yeah.
Derek, go ahead and say something.
Yeah. I-
Okay. He doesn't appear to be muted, he doesn't have a mute signal on. Here's the device that he wants to do.
I can hear you, Ned.
There we go, try it.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, there you go.
Good. Sorry.
There we go. Okay. Okay.
I don't have the recording live yet.
Okay.
Maybe one more. That was like.
Oh, he needs one more to go.
Seems so much easier.
Yeah. It doesn't work, right?
It's working.
I didn't.
You know, I've seen those when they was over the purchase threshold.
It's in the email with the council going to documents that we.
Seven. Yeah.
There are two that look like that, though.
Internet is being very slow. I didn't have any hands today.
Big girl had to go to.
Okay, so I totally missed that page.
I think it's gonna be corrected anyway, because new receipts came in today. I think that
This is different. This is the purchase thresholds. The one is the-
So you might want to mute while when you're not. The background.
Okay, yeah, here.
Nine, oh, nine.
If you want to talk, then you want to go to the mic.
Center.
There it is. Thanks.
It's very counterintuitive, because that's how it's been. The mic and the computer is actually. It's moving call, so. Okay, I think we got everything plugged in.
Okay, cool.
Let me just make sure that your monitor works over here. Let's squeeze in between you. So that you be an okay volume. Keep that low. We'll start low.
Okay.
The feedback is bad. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I want to call to order the December 12th, 2022 Harpers Ferry Town Council meeting to order at 7:11 PM. All members of the council are present. We have Jerry Hutton online, and we have a whopping approximately 10 residents in attendance. I don't want to apologize, first of all, for the technical delay. This is only our second attempt and we're getting better every time. So come back in April and May and we'll have this down pat. Approval of the agenda. I want to suggest a couple changes, council. As a courtesy to the two attorneys that we have representing Swan and our attorney representing Harpers Ferry, I want to suggest that we move agenda item 6A, B, C, that's 6A, B, C, to follow 2A. 6A, B, C would follow 2A. And then my only other change involves 4C, Roman numeral 2, and 4D, Roman numeral 5. We could move that at the end of 7.A because I think we may have to go into executive session since we will be talking about personnel and salary on both of those items. Kevin?
And I have a change as well. Item 4G3 should be split into two separate items.
Which one?
4G3.
And Laura was your item. that needs to be-
4G3, we will talk about renewing the appointment of the tree
I thought
committee.
I overheard.
And then organizational placement of the tree committee is a separate issue.
Separate issue. So we have,
Okay, it's two
okay,
things.
4G3 will contain two items, okay? So
It'll
I'll
be
need,
4G3 and 4G4 now.
I'll need a motion on these changes.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you. I have a second on the motion. We have a second from Christian. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Melissa, could you keep track of Jerry's hand going up for me? Okay. Okay. Kevin, would you call a public comment? I believe we have two.
Yes. First public comment is from, do you want to announce the rules of the?
Yeah, the public comment is always the way it's been. You can talk about any item on the agenda and you have up to 3 minutes.
Okay, so the first public comments will be from Benjamin Buckley.
Good evening, council. I'm Benjamin Buckley, resident here in Harpers Ferry. And I want to talk about agenda item number 6. I used to work in the insurance business and the insurance company used to use the word litigation a lot. I do it around all the time and I got started using it a lot. And I guess they were referring to mitigation of loss. And then I met some attorneys and they like the word litigate. Because I guess that makes some money when they litigate. Anyway, so what I'm going to talk about is make sure we don't, that we do mitigate so we don't litigate. And this has to do with the agreement. And one thing I wanted to thank you all for realizing the precautionary clause was missing from the ordinance. That was good. Appreciate that. Number 2, we've got the, I'm not a lawyer, so we have the ordinance and then we have the corrective amended deed. And the gist of what I'm talking about is I think these two documents should reflect and have the same content so that there's no misunderstanding. And that's why I'm talking about mitigate, need to mitigate. Anyway, number 2, the reversionary clause is not repeated and made part of the text of the corrected amended deed. Now, I may be wrong. I've got these papers here. I don't know what the latest documents are. Anyway, the next item is this needs to be added to the corrective amended deed. So that's one thing. And let's see. Also, the following agreement conditions, covenants, additional considerations, restrictions to the ordinance of the old ordinance for the original street agreement, they're missing from the corrective amended deed that need to be added. Also, paragraph items number 4, 5, 6 on page 5. Also, paragraph items 4, page 6, 5 of original agreement have been revised in paragraph 7.
30 seconds.
30 seconds, okay. Well, I think you all have the gist. There's many more I can give you this paper here with the points that I'm talking about, but item number 7, page 6 is missing. Items 1 through 12, 9 and 10 of the original agreement are missing again. I asked the town council to make a motion tonight to add these items to the corrective amended deed as they were part of ordinance of 2021-02. And
Time.
okay. Anyway, so please let's mitigate the need. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Barbara Humes.
I'm going to be referencing agenda item 6B, discussion and action on the first reading for approval of ordinance 2022-04, corrected and amended deed authorizing the mayor to execute corrected and amended deed by the Clean Corporation for Prosperity in Hilltown. And also agenda item 6B, discussion and action to set the dates for a public hearing and second reading for approval of ordinance 2022-04. The council is having another first reading tonight because of the changes that were required in the street use agreement and the deed after the October 10th first reading. You're then going to be looking, you're looking to then schedule a public hearing for the second reading to follow. I'm requesting the town council to schedule 2 separate follow-up meetings, one for a public hearing and one for a second reading. The council needs to indicate to the public that it will take the time needed to weigh the comments made during the public hearing. Combining these 2 actions on the same date sends a message that the council is not taking the public comments into consideration. I also wanted to comment that without seeing the red line copies, it is difficult for anyone to track what is being changed. I found it very difficult to do. There's some yellow highlights in one version, but not all of the suggestions by me and others are highlighted. How do we know that all the items were captured? It was very difficult. There was nothing to compare what was red line and what was correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
That's all.
Okay. Okay, mayor's announcement. I just have 3 short things I want to cover. Number 1, on Thursday of this week, I have been invited to make remarks at a ceremony being held at Shipley Elementary School. They have been recognized as one of the nation's blue ribbon schools of excellence. And I believe there is only 37 that have been recognized in the United States this year. And Shipley School was one of those. And I know that Zach here is an alumnus of Shipley School. So I know that Zach will be very proud of that. And my wife taught there for years. I don't know if there are any other alumni from Shipley. So I'll be there Thursday at 10 o'clock and with a bunch of kindergarten through, I guess, what is it, 4th or 5th grade, making a presentation and congratulating them. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Secondly, as you know, and I've mentioned several times, I've put it in the newsletter several times about my efforts regarding the old Shipley School on Washington Street and its current condition. And I have been working very closely with our code officer. And I'm pleased to report that Kevin has met with 5 Park Service officials about a week and a half ago, to include the superintendent. And they have agreed to begin action to not stabilize, but to rectify the issues on the exterior of Shipley School, Old Shipley School, which was built in 1912. And it has been vacant since the late 70s, I believe. And so I'm very happy that the Park Service are finally going to put an action plan together and present it to Kevin. And then he will be monitoring the progress to improve the exterior of that school. And we're only concerned with the exterior, obviously. And we're going to hold them to the same standard that we hold residents to with their private residents or businesses. The third thing is that we are really on the down slope, I think, Debbie, with our $6 million plus water plant facility. We're just nearing completion on that. And I know that Steve's in here, and I think that Steve is going to be hopefully planning a public ribbon cutting ceremony so that the public can come out and see this dynamic facility that will be a one-of-a-kind facility. I mean, it will be the newest in the state of West Virginia. And I want to thank Barbara Hume. She was on the Water Commission for eons. And I remember when I was mayor, Barbara, back in 20, whenever that was, she and I worked on this when this issue first came up. And she's worked very long and very hard on this. And I do want to recognize Barbara for her efforts on that, because it's finally coming into fruition. The other thing is that we have applied with the West Virginia Water Development Authority for grant money for our distribution system, which would amount to a little over $5 million. We have jumped 2 good hurdles so far, right, Debbie? We have 1 additional hurdle to get over. I am cautiously optimistic that we will prevail on that. And I might add that this is a grant with no match. There will be no rate increase, and it is not a loan. And I'm very grateful to get this far with the state of West Virginia's Water Development Authority. I might add that I am a little disappointed in the Jefferson County Commission because we asked for assistance funding, financial funding from our own Jefferson County Commission, and they denied our request. So I'm really grateful that the state of West Virginia has taken it to this level, and hopefully we can bring that across the finish line. Does any council member have any announcement you would like to make? Okay. On the approval of minutes, we are putting together, or there was some audio problems, Kevin, is that what it is? We're still working on putting some information together from some audio issues back with these minutes that you have. So we do not have any minutes for approval. As soon as we can work our way through the audio issues, then we'll put those on the next agenda. So at this time, I'd like to have the 2 attorneys, and Laurel, if you would, come on up. And I want to turn the microphone over to the town attorney, Mr. Ken Sayer.
Thank you, Your Honor. The purpose for the meeting tonight, we did have a first reading of the ordinance in October. And there are some changes that are proposed for the ordinance that, in my opinion, are substantive changes. And therefore, if you have a substantive change, you cannot then pass on final reading at the same meeting. So instead of advertising it as a second meeting, making the changes, and then having another second reading, the mayor and I talked, and it was probably more appropriate to amend it and have the first reading again. And then as in the agenda, determine when the public hearing would be and the second reading and second reading of the ordinance. And so I have the ordinance, the changes. Mr. Funk has printed out a bunch of the red line versions because there are a couple of other items that needed to be changed, and I thought we could go through it. All of the changes from the first reading, other than from the past first reading. Ms. Humes was talking about the grammatical changes that were approved at the last time. Those were included in the changes, so they're not part of the highlight. But if everyone has the, you have some extras. So I believe what we should do so that everyone knows where we're at, we'll look at the first page, and I keep hoping that Hilltop LLC is a West Virginia LLC, so I don't remove it, but apparently they are set on being part of the Old Dominion state. So that needed to be changed. They're a Virginia limited liability company.
Ken, if I can, let me add one caveat on that. If Laurel and I were talking before the meeting, she has some question whether that is an accurate name of the current owner, which is what we're trying to catch there. So I'll confirm that to you, but I would suggest we approach this as, regardless of who it is, this will apply, and we'll fix the name if necessary.
Okay. So then quite a few of these changes are reflecting going into the first, second, let's see, let me count these. The third whereas. The current, we believe the current purchaser or owner of the property is HF Hilltop LLC. The more accurate description of who we sold the property to was Swan Hilltop. So I would propose that we would amend HF Hilltop LLC to Swan Hilltop Operating Partners, and that would be in that paragraph. Then going to the following whereas, it's the same issue. We conveyed the property to Swan Hilltop, not HF Hilltop LLC. And following paragraph also has that change in it from HF Hilltop to the ones that we conveyed to Swan Hilltop. Going to page 2, the second paragraph, Mr. Funk pointed out that that paragraph, we needed to add the Corporation of Harpers Ferry that we desire to correct errors in the original deed. So I would propose that we accept that amendment. The following paragraph is the inclusion of the letter S. Councilman Craig pointed out that it should be furthers the economic development project and encourages the development. As I said before the meeting, I thought it was dotting I's and crossing T's, not S's. But we've added the S there to correct the grammatical error there. Going to page 3 at the top. Yeah. This deed, corrected deed, we're not selling because we've already sold the property. So it would be make and deliver to HF Hilltop. Actually, I think we probably need to delete Hilltop Operating Partners, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would be, that paragraph would read, starting at the bottom of page 3, section 1, the Corporation of Harpers Ferry is hereby authorized pursuant to the authority granted to the town by its acceptance in the municipal home rule pilot program phase 2 and the provisions of Article 114 of the codified ordinances of the Corporation of Harpers Ferry to make and deliver to HF Hilltop LLC the corrective amended deed conveying and subject to the following. Now, going through the descriptions, we needed to amend the descriptions to reflect that the property was conveyed to Swan and not HF Hilltop. So in paragraph 2 of the description of parcel 1, line 3, deleting HF Hilltop LLC and substituting Swan Hilltop Hotel. Line 5, making the same change. Going to page 4. Towards the bottom of the page. And that would be in the description 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sentences up, or lines up, substituting Swan for HF Hilltop. And 3 sentences up from that description, doing the same. Going to the next on parcel 2, there are no changes. The next parcel 3 on page 6, about halfway down the description for parcel, you see the same substitutions of Swan for HF Hilltop. In those two lines, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, well, it's the description for parcel, so it's on page 5 of what you gave them.
Bottom of page.
Bottom of page 5, sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines up from the bottom of the description of parcel 3. It would be the same substitutions. Going to parcel 4 in the second paragraph, line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down. Again, the substitution of Swan for HF Hilltop LLC in the description. No changes in parcel 5 description. Parcel 6 description. In the second paragraph, second line, substituting Swan for HF Hilltop. Into the 5th line, the same substitution. And the 8th line, same substitution. And these don't change really any of the substance of the descriptions. It's just more accurately describing what we had there. So we've made those changes. Now, going to, what page number is that? When you gave 8. All right. Now here's where we come to one of the substantive changes that were yellowed in the part that was given to you. In paragraph 1, they have, if you recall, in the original unamended description, that was where they had the portico. I'm getting better. I think I came close to pronouncing it right. And this council voted not to allow that to happen. So that was deleted out of that. But they have come back and asked that we add this yellowed section in, which may include screening, whether vegetative or otherwise, not in excess of 6 feet in height. And we have the folks from HF Hilltop or Swan or whatever we're calling them that may want to discuss why they think that this is an important change, but it is a substantive change. If you all want to address that.
Right. The council had requested that we do everything we can to reduce the sound coming from the transformers. And when we took that back to our architects and they talked to their acoustic people, they said the best thing that we could do is put up a masonry fence around the transformers. Of course, you can picture a wrought iron fence isn't going to do much to reduce the sound, nor a stockade fence, which isn't going to look as nice. So they suggested that we use the same masonry that we're using on the garage, which it's next to go around the transformers. The reason we're asking for this change is because previously it was no structure over 3 feet. This will need to be 6 feet or under because the transformers themselves are 4 feet. There's a little bit of clearance underneath them. They're on a 4-inch pad. So we're limiting it to 6 feet and under. So I just wanted to be clear that we were going to be using stone or brick, whatever matches the exterior of the parking garage where all the infrastructure is.
In the original language we provided, Ken, had the include screening, whether vegetative or otherwise. We realized the vegetative really shouldn't be in there because vegetative is already unlimited. And we didn't want to leave it vague with something. So we figured, that's gonna eliminate concerns with, are we gonna put up a tar paper wall?
Yeah.
It's gonna be stick, brick or stuff.
No, thank you for working with us this way. I think it's a good solution that it will blend in with the other structure better than vegetation would in many ways.
Yeah, there will be vegetation around it as well, but.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Now, Mike, you had a change in what we have in yellow that you all were proposing for that, or was that in the following paragraph? The major.
And yeah, well, that's what it did.
Right now, what's in front of council, well, I guess what's in front of them now is the change that you've already proposed.
Yeah, further change beyond what was in the packet.
Yeah.
The screening, whether vegetative or otherwise, was in the packet.
And so that the public knows what we're saying is we would be amending that paragraph that was yellow, which says, which may include screening, whether vegetative or otherwise, not in excess of 6 feet in height. You have proposed to change that to what?
Which may include a stone or brick wall not in excess of 6 feet in height.
All right.
So that'll not only address the visual, but the sound as well. Great.
Okay, and so that would be the proposal that they have for the change to that. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the public that was listening and the public that are here understand what's changed from what was put on the website. Also, in that paragraph, the or is on the wrong side of the 4. So it's 3 feet height or sub paragraph 4 as opposed to 4 or any parking structure. All right, going down to the end of paragraph 2 there. Mike and I spoke, and instead of the attachment here to being the exhibit, another exhibit was just the exhibit A to the original deed, which is the map. That's the map that we agreed to at the beginning, and this way it's the same map. It's consistent. Now we're cruising on down to paragraphs number 10 and 11. And again, these are the reversionary clauses that were in the original ordinance. These are verbatim what was in the original ordinance. The conveyance of the streets to Swan is subject to reversionary clause, providing the street shall revert back to town if construction of the hotel is not substantially completed by December 31, 2030, unless the town or its officials are responsible for the project delay. If the council may remember, well, I guess only a couple of members of council are here that were part of that original council. As we were going through this process, there was a notice of litigation filed by the mayor, not in his official capacity, and that created a problem. I think that litigation is still pending, but they were agreeable to the reversion unless the town was the reason for the delay, which seems to be fair. And then 11 says, in the event that the subject reversionary clause in paragraph 10 directly above is exercised, the town will retain the purchase price for the streets. So we get to keep the money. Hopefully we get the project and not the money.
Yeah,
we
that's
get the
right.
money and the project. So those are two, what I would consider substantive changes from the original ordinance. Going on. There was a capitalization issue in subparagraph H. which is on your page 11, we're back to D. Oh, D, yeah, D on 11. That was a capitalization change error. And then we get to the paragraph that starts with additional considerations, or the section. And quite frankly, when I added these in originally, I did not catch the fact that I already had them in once before. They're sort of doubling down, but there's no reason to double down. So it would be my suggestion that we would amend the ordinance deleting the following paragraphs. Paragraph 1, 2, and 3, which are reflected in paragraph 4 and 5, which is on page, making sure my numbering is consistent with yours. I believe it's page 9.
8 and 9.
8 and 9.
Yeah.
So they're already included in the ordinance
So what are you suggesting again, Council?
that we're taking out on the additional considerations, paragraphs 1, 2, and 3, because they're already above in the ordinance in paragraphs 4, 5, and 6. Paragraph 4 and 5, which are the pathway, those are contained in paragraph 7 and 8 above. Paragraph 6 is contained in paragraph 9. Paragraph 7, we would renumber to paragraph 1. That is the issue dealing with sound. So we're leaving 7. So 1 through 6 should come out. 7 stays. Paragraph 8, 9, or 8, which is a rather lengthy one, is also included above and should be deleted. And then we have which is the covenants dealing with lot 31. And then we have additional covenants is dealing with the 1-year anniversary, the $125,000.
Actually, that's all part.
That's all part of our sub 8. Yeah, and that's all above. And those should be deleted because they're already in the ordinance. And then I think there is one final change on the last page, and it's not section 1, it should be section 2.
Questions, Council?
No, although if we left both versions in, they'd know we really, really mean it.
That was kind of my original thought of Harris.
We're serious.
But if council is agreeable to the changes, I think what we would do is we would bring forth the ordinance for first reading and then make a motion to approve the amendments that we just discussed.
So we made, the first motion is for the reading, the second is to approve the changes.
Well, the mayor would call, I guess you've already called that this is for the first reading of the ordinance, or the reading of the ordinance. I'll read the title of it, and then somebody needs to make a motion to amend it as discussed. So if we're ready for the reading of the title, I can do that. I'm good at that one.
Any questions for our attorney before we get that far? Okay, Mr. Sarah.
An ordinance of the Corporation of Harpers Ferry authorizing the mayor to execute the corrective and amended deed by and between the Corporation of Harpers Ferry and HF Hilltop LLC. Your Honor, I believe that the council is wanting to amend the ordinance, and this would be the time to amend it as discussed. A motion to amend it as discussed.
I move to amend the street use agreement between the Corporation of Harpers Ferry and HF Hilltop LLC as presented.
A second on the motion.
Second.
Chris, discussion on the motion.
I'll just add this ordinance 2022-04.
04.
Other discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Has Jerry's hand up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There he is.
Unanimous,
Yeah.
7-0.
Who made that second?
Chris.
Or Jerry, they were kind of close.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Perry, move into the deed or what do we?
Well, I think that if Swan wants to talk about the deed, now there was the one change in the deed that I sent to you that has the masonry wall. But I mean, if there's any questions about the deed itself, because actually our ordinance and the action that we have is going to be authorizing the mayor to sign it. If there's any questions about the deed as contemplated by Swan, if there's any changes that you all want to discuss or changes you want to see in the deed, this would be the time to discuss that.
The only change we're proposing to the deed, as opposed to what was in the packet, is that same change with replacing screening where vegetative or otherwise with a stone or brick. Exact same language.
And to address the public comment, the reason that the reversionary clause is not in the deed, but is in the ordinance, dealt with the financing of the project. That the creditors would not finance the project if the deed had the reversionary clause. But the ordinance is going to provide the city the mechanism, if it's not substantially completed by that date, to retrieve the property back.
In your opinion, is there any legal conflict between those two?
There's not a legal conflict. I think they still go hand in glove with each other. The ordinance provides us that ability to revert the property.
Thank you.
And I would just add that the agreement, street agreement is a street agreement. It's an agreement. It's in place. It's binding upon the two parties. And it has provisions that aren't in the deed, but it's not typical to place in a deed. What we tried to place in a deed were provisions relevant to the real estate. And you know, you don't normally put extraneous things in a deed. So it's like you don't take your deed and put your real estate purchase and sale agreement within that deed. It's conveying the property. The agreement covers the others.
Thank you for explaining that. So Mr. Sayer, on this one, what is the motion required on this?
Well, I don't think, as far as the deed's concerned, that there is a motion that we need to deal with the deed, because you're not adopting the deed. The actual action of the council will be the one that's approving or authorizing the mayor to execute the deed.
I see. Got it.
So we don't need to officially.
No, I
We need
think.
to authorize the mayor.
Like that.
Well, I think that we comment, we concur, but there's not really a mechanism for us to adopt the change. That would be basically when we adopt the ordinance. Because once that second and final reading, that reading is authorizing you to sign the deed that's going to be attached to that.
And the deed is registered at court.
Then the deed will be recorded.
Okay, so that happens after the reading.
Yes, after the reading and after the mayor actually signs. Now, hopefully, we don't have to have midnight signings.
Or 6 a.m.
6 a.m. signings, excuse me. You need to speak to us and ask for a recess.
All right, I want to.
You need a motion to
Let's
recess.
have a motion to recess for 5 minutes for me to consult with both attorneys
So move.
So moved. I'll second it.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's have the two attorneys. And
Over in the other office.
Leave the schnapps here.
Dennis, anyone? No. Any song requests?
About,
I hear you do a good show.
It's dangerous.
Recording deeds now.
you did a good job on the pump.
That was fun.
I
Yeah.
don't think I can do this one.
From a
Glad to
fancy
see.
stand.
Yeah, I think you better.
Hey, congratulations on your
Please.
your
They have
history.
some conflict of interest law.
On the pumpkin.
Right.
Congratulations.
I think it's just a matter of finding the roundest one and making sure there's no stem.
Yeah, the stem is the killer, although the long ones are the most entertaining.
Kind of crisscross back and forth.
Greg was talking about, I'd love to see it closing down High Street to do it next year. Really incredible.
That would bring in a crowd. I was really impressed how many people were out for the parade.
Oh, yeah, actually, I was out in the cold all morning. In front of the Zion Church parking people, so I ended up, we couldn't take another minute outside, so, yeah. Now everybody was really into it.
I don't know, I think maybe because it was later. I think it used to be like maybe around noon or 1. And the fact that it was 4 o'clock, it was starting to get dark. People had lights on their floats.
Oh, cool. I saw it being staged and all of that, yeah.
All the lines that are. He went over that.
Oh, okay, so no single. Okay.
The numbering is. Numbering is not quite right.
Okay, thank you, council. Thank you, public. We're back in session. We'll go to item 6C. 6C is in Charlie, which would be setting up a public hearing, the date for second reading. Mr. Sayer and Mr. Funk and I just consulted a little bit about that. We think we should openly discuss that now.
Mayor, could you move my microphone over?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Chris. I want to move to 6C, which is setting up the public hearing and the second reading. And Mr. Funk and Mr. Sayer, myself, just briefly mentioned this amongst other things, that we need to discuss this in an open session right now about setting up a public hearing and the second reading. So I'll defer to the 6 of you, council.
Oh, well, I'm gonna be gone most of February, I'll tell you that. So what's the timing for the second reading?
We would be required to have a class 2 legal app. Which is basically 2 weeks. If council wants to have this for the next council meeting, we have sufficient time to advertise it and get it out to the public with, as I told the mayor, I'm going to, when I get onto an internet that I can use, I will send out to the mayor, the council, the red line version that we just talked about and a clean copy version. So that it'll be there and Kevin can put that on the website for people to see both versions so they can see the changes. But then, you know, if we want to do it at the first meeting in January, the second Monday in January, we do have sufficient time to do that.
Sounds good to me.
But that would make sense rather than trying to schedule an additional meeting.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
January regular meeting.
Would be the second reading.
Instead of a special meeting, we do a regular meeting.
Right.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Do we need a formal motion for that?
Your Honor, I think since we're doing a public hearing, I think a motion to hold the public hearing and second reading on that date would be appropriate.
I move to hold the second reading for approval of ordinance 2022-04 at the next regular town council meeting on January 9, 2023.
I second.
Would you accept an amendment to say also the public hearing?
Yes. Oh, do I have to say it? And also the public hearing.
And I'll
Second.
To make sure. 9, January 9.
And who seconded that? Was that Jerry seconded
Right,
it?
right. Yes.
All right, so we have a motion and a second and discussion on the motion to have the public hearing and second reading on January 9, 2023. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
7-0 unanimous. Thank you. Okay, any other questions before our attorneys depart?
Who's
Laurel?
gonna do the public notice?
I will. I'll have to notice out.
Mr. Sayer will put together a notice. This is what done last time. I don't know if you did that one.
I think I did. I think I
But
said
there's a lot of stuff with COVID in there that probably would not be applicable.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Funk, Laurel, Mr. Sayer, thank you very much.
Would that hearing be here? We want to, can we confirm where the hearing will be?
Yeah,
Here?
we can do it.
In this building? Okay, just to make sure.
Not that we can track anybody.
I'll confirm the address.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. I'll take care.
Thank you.
No.
Where are you, Kevin?
Number 3.
These were 3 items.
So,
Okay, Debbie. We're at 3A, which review and approval of financial reports for October 2022 and approval of invoices purchased over threshold. I found Debbie, if you move that kind of close.
Better? Okay. How's that?
Very good.
Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. The financial reports that you have this evening are for the end of October, the close of the fourth quarter of fiscal 2023. This is 33% of the year. In the general fund, our targeted operating income is $1,056,547. Therefore, the income as of October of $471,599 represents 45% of the operating income for the year. October is the month in which we receive many quarterly remittances, and this gives us a good indicator for the rest of the year. Operating expenses are at approximately 33% of budgeted for the year. Under Waterworks, overall, the revenue received through September represents 42% of the projected income. This, however, includes the contribution of the ARPA monies that we used for the Elk Run main replacement. So if we remove that portion of the income from the overall, our operating income and water billing receipts are at 39% of projected. We are approaching months in the calendar year that typically trend with lower usage, so this puts us in a good position to weather that possible downturn. For operating expenses, if we remove the Elks Run main replacement contracted work, our operating expenses are running at 36%. Revision 3 for fiscal 23, which was approved last month, will be reflected in your November reports, and that should start to make that 36% number be a little closer to what we're targeting in each period. Any questions for any of the financials?
Any concerns, Debbie?
No, I think we're moving along well, and we'll be looking towards a budget revision in the general fund, which we typically do about halfway through, and we try to go conservative and hopes that we'll be able to be a little more positive and do a little bit more with our monies towards the end of the year. That still looks possible.
Got a motion from the floor to approve the financials.
I move to approve the October 2022 to general and waterworks financial report.
Second on the motion, second from Chris, discussion on the motion to approve the financials. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All right.
7-0.
Aye.
Item 3B, approval of invoices and purchases over purchasing threshold. Debbie?
So you have a list and accompanying invoices for various items over the purchasing threshold or to outside organizations. Any questions on those?
Oh, just curious about the AmeriGas.
So that one is for propane at the water plant. I had Steve and the Public Works Administrator and Chris Dyer review that with comparison to usage for the year. They did not seem concerned. It was something in the beginning of our season, probably a format fill up for a long period of time. So we're hopeful that that will be one of just a few fill ups over the year. Yeah.
Super. I move to approve the invoices and purchases over the purchasing threshold as presented.
Second on the motion. Second from
Second.
discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. Police report, Chief Brown. While Chief is making his way up here, I want to note that the police did a nice job with the first week of Old Time Christmas. It was getting a one-way street, and they really did a good job in coordinating that. It's just too bad that the weather on Saturday for the first week was not a little bit better, but John, thank you, and extend our thanks to the officers. I think their efforts made a difference on that weekend and this past weekend too. So, Chief.
Good evening, council. I just want to give you the report for November 2022. We had 3 accidents, 0 callouts, and 4 assists. We had 142 citations issued for the month and 120 incidents. We continue to work towards progress. We're meeting with some of the council members still. That's going well, and I continue to still meet with the mayor and trying to finish up some things he's assigned me to get taken care of. The Old Time Christmas was a success. So we will, I think we're going to be doing a debriefing meeting to go over any concerns or issues that we had with the event, but it ran pretty smooth for the time being. Any questions or concerns?
I was going to ask on parking incidents versus parking citations. So incidents are done by the police officers.
So incidents are calls. As you go down and you look through the incidents, there are various incidents that we responded to or had taken care of.
Okay.
Communication to dispatch. So someone or officer is driving around and stops to check parking, they.
Okay. So then our parking attendant person is the citations pretty much.
Right. He's and Steve has done, but we combine the citations and our parking citations and our vehicle moving violations are combined with all citations and combined.
And I did have a long conversation with him, and I think he's really doing a very good job, and I told him so. And he's very fair and reasonable, and I think that fits the character of Harpers Ferry. He does a.
I would like to address, I saw an email that the mayor and I had gotten about a concerned citizen that was complaining about parking on public way, and I advised them that, instead of complaining to us, they need to call into communications and we'd have an officer dispatched there to address his concerns as well. That we weren't the appropriate way of getting an officer to respond to his location.
Any other questions for the chief? Chris?
I just noted the hit and run on the list. Was that a major event or anything unusual?
No, it's someone hit another vehicle and left the scene. Wasn't anything, any injuries or anything like that. It was just, it came in as a cause, as Melissa said, dispatched as a hit and run. So that's what we logged it in as.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thank you, chief. I appreciate it. Be careful going home. Code officers report, any questions you want me to discuss with Kevin? Okay. Budget and finance.
Yeah, okay. well, I got
Number one, discussion action regarding
big jump.
award of the audit contractor. Christian?
Okay, for CI, let me get that for CI. So this one here, I'm going to defer. I had to step out of that meeting at this part of our budget and finance meeting. So either Laurel or Storm, if you want to jump in on that.
Sure, wasn't prepared to, but I can.
Well, I can.
No, it's okay. So we had one bid and it was, but we went through the entire process. It was myself, fellow budget and finance member Laurel Drake, and the financial officer Deb Kelly. We went through and rated on each of the dimensions, tabulated it. And it's actually rather exceptional. It's the same auditor that we had last time, and it's conducting a single audit, which is quite extensive. And they had it soup to nuts in the qualifications. So it was an easy decision. And also the financial officers said they're eager to work with us again. So in light of all that, I move to accept the bid of Perry and Associates to conduct the fiscal year 2022 audit.
Have a second on the motion. Second from Laurel. Discussion on a motion to accept the bid from Perry and Associates. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, Jerry.
Okay. Next one is discussion and action regarding the recommendation of a travel policy. It's in 3. This came back again. I stepped out of the meeting on this, so I will defer to my compadres.
And I'll pull up the minutes.
Looks like there was slight changes in the word.
Yeah, and I have a few also that I want to offer to clarify this a little bit.
Yeah, please, Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Okay. I think it would be helpful on travel expenses. The third line. In the middle of that sentence, there's a sentence that ends are made, M-A-D-E period. And then the next sentence begins, the town pays. I believe that it would be beneficial that between those two sentences, we add another sentence that says specifically, quote, per diem is an allowance for lodging, meals, and incidental expenses, period. We actually define what per diem means, and it's not defined anywhere in here. That's the standard definition for per diem. And that's what's used by the General Services Administration, who we quote in here a couple times that we're using their standards that they go by. So I suggest we just add that in there. And then I have just maybe one other little word to add. And I can give this to whoever and get this changed. I think it will significantly help this. I think you all did a good job putting this together. It's just a minor change based on the GSA regs that we are using in here.
And just for the public and broadly, the purpose of this is to adopt a policy that is the GSA standard for doing a per diem rather than having receipts returned to town council or to the financial officer after the fact. I move to adopt the town hall pay scale as amended. Oh, sorry, strike that.
Travel, yeah.
I'm reading this out of the side of my eye and picked the wrong line. I move to include the travel policy changes as amended.
Have a second on the motion. Second from Christian. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Who, Debbie, who put this together? That you did, Debbie?
Yeah.
All right. Slide out to Debbie.
So item number 4, discussion action regarding the approval of old time Christmas expenses and bills. We have received the majority of bills. Okay, so we can make a motion on this.
Yes, step in. It's gonna take a while.
Don't go second on that. Don't say second until he's ready.
Okay, this is for old time Christmas that just passed. It needs to be done in segments because some things are still coming in. I move to pay the following amounts to the Harpers Ferry Merchants Association for expenses related to the 2022 Old Time Christmas. $1,000 for invoice 1101202222 for the plant and event planner from 402 Economic Development. $2,400 from 308 Hotel Motel Fund as reimbursement for items received as of 12/9/2022 for promotion of the arts items under invoice 120220222, and up to $1,525 to be paid upon submission of appropriate documentation for remaining items under the same invoice. And also $2,500 for beautification to be paid to RS Excavating for invoice 1507 from 308 Hotel Motel Fund, and lieu of paying Merchant Association invoice 120220221. And up to an additional $4,228 to be paid to the Merchant Association from 308 Hotel Motel Fund for invoice 120220221 for additional beautification upon submission of appropriate documentation. Yes, I'll send that to you.
Definitely better. Thank you.
Are we ready? Is it okay?
Yeah, I'm out of breath, so that's it.
All right, second it.
We got a motion on the floor. We have a second.
I think
Laurel?
that the amount on that last one was lowered, wasn't it?
He says that we can approve up to that amount.
Right, but the 2463 should actually be something like 1523, right? And that's all because of things that happened later today.
Today,
Yeah.
and so we won't be approving any, we won't pay out anything for which they have not provided appropriate documentation.
Yeah, receipt is still required.
Right, it just that it's higher than it needs to be, just we. And I would like to offer an amendment that that the amount of the third one be.
Laura, you have to speak up.
A point of order, we don't have a second on that motion yet, do we?
Yes, there was a second.
Oh, yeah, we do. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Basically, the new amount was. I'd have to look it up here.
No, I can bring it with me because it was all brought in today and I want to go over it.
Late this afternoon.
1583. 1583 plus 300, 1883 basically is what that last amount would be on the OTC beautification.
Are you making that motion?
I'm suggesting the amendment for the third item of the OTC. Is it instead of 4288, I believe, or instead of 2763, it's 1838.
I'm not sure I'm following anything, Laurel. First of all, I couldn't hear a lot of what you were saying. If you could move up closer to the mic, even though you're sitting close.
It's a matter of the amounts changed as we look closer and as receipts came in today. And so if you're looking at the table under OTC beautification and the box on the farthest to the right, it's an approval to pay up to a certain amount. Because we haven't received the verification yet, right? And so in Storm's motion, he had 2763. Up to 2763. But we really need to just approve up to 1838 based on what happened today.
First one is. That's okay, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Oh,
That one amount
So it'd be up to a different amount.
Reducing the ceiling.
She's doing the up to amount, but we need a second before.
On the amendment.
Second.
Well, today, we had an email, it was determined that the up to amount was much lower than what's on this sheet.
So the latest that came. The latest that came in, the up to that we received today is lower than the up to that we had before.
Yes.
What difference does that make? It's still an up to.
It's just, it's true that it's covered, but it's just more precise.
We're gonna
Of
get
what
the
we're,
bill.
of what we're proposing.
Yeah, we can't pay out a bill without the
We're
receipt
not
in
gonna
either
pay
case.
anything until we get the bill.
I just was trying to be more precise on what we would be paying out.
I'm not sure that. I mean, we do it all the time. We
Always put it.
go out and buy a lawnmower and we'll give Larry up to $5,000. What difference does it make? Whether it's up to the higher amount, Laurel, or the up to for the lower amount that we just got in.
It gets recorded as the more correct amount, and next year, when we look at what we paid for it, it's in the table correctly, and it's.
But it's an up to, we don't, any of this stuff that goes audits and recorded is the actual invoice that we get and the actual invoice that we paid.
If you're happy with it being like this, then you can be, that's fine, but I was trying to make it more precise.
Okay, all right, so
Well, has a formal motion been made to amend this?
So I believe you made a motion to amend, correct?
Yes.
And there hasn't been a second on it yet.
okay.
Is
Motion
there-
dies.
So, yeah, there's been a second to it.
Now we go back to the original motion. So we were we have a motion, we had a second on original, correct?
Correct.
Okay, any other discussion on the original motion? All those in favor of the original motion?
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
okay, opposed? All right. Okay,
Okay, this last one, for discussion action regarding the compensation plan of elected officials for fiscal year 2023/2024. This will only be discussion on my part. We're not going to have action tonight because we don't know the proper course of action on moving ahead on this. So for today, it'll be just information. Just so you're aware, the town council has been updating all the departments. At this point, we have completed the police department. We've completed we're going to complete the general fund and the waterworks. And then finally, I think the last part is the elected officials. And that is pretty much us here at this table. And these particular numbers, what I did in this analysis, the mayor had said, if you're going to pursue this, then you better have the numbers from other municipalities. So I selected the Charlestown, Ranson, Shepherdstown, Bolivar numbers with and contrasted the numbers, and I've sent that out to you all. Comparing the mayoral salaries. And by the way, the Harpers Ferry one is not correct. It's 10,000 per year. This is all public numbers that all of you can find. Some of it's easy to find, some of it's very difficult to find, but it's out there somewhere in public. Charlestown is like 12,500, Ranson's 9,080, Shepherdstown's 2,000, Bolivar 6, and Harpers Ferry is at 10. And I have some comments at the end when I get done with this part. As for recorders, that's the other public office. Two of the towns are structured differently than Harpers Ferry. So Charlestown and Ranson don't have recorders. Shepherdstown's 1,500, Bolivar 6,950, and Harpers Ferry 3,000. Does that seem right?
That's really good. Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because the mayor's number was incorrect. This was actually lower. Okay. So finally, I got to the town council comparisons. Charlestown pays, and they have 5 members, pays $5,000. Ransom, $7,600 with 7 members. Shepherdstown pays $1,200 a year for each of their 5 members. Bolivar is $3,800 for their 5, and Harpers Ferry is $2,000 for their 5. The budgets, when you compare budgets of the 5 towns, the biggest budget is Ransom, then Charlestown. They're like 6.8, 6.5 million for this past year. Shepherdstown is like 2.1. We're actually bigger than Shepherdstown at 2.2 or almost 2.3, and Bolivar is about $500,000. So you see the comparison. I'm eventually we'll come up with some numbers, but what we think they should be. Now, I did receive.
So that's the key thing, is not just the number, but the number to the
in
size of the
relationship to
budget.
the budget of the town, right, of the towns. The one thing we do feel, or at least I feel, we should have annual cost of living adjustments like we do with all the other employees in town. Because our numbers will start getting out of sync over many years. So we need to have the cost of living the same as all other employees in town. The mayor numbers seem in line, the recorder number seems in line, except we should check into further assessment of the job description. Town council members are definitely behind the 8 ball. It should be definitely probably looked at raising them, not for this council. This would be for the next council. I did get some a very interesting feedback from the mayor. He thought it was an interesting analysis. I personally think that all Harpers Ferry elected officials are woefully undercompensated, including both the mayor and the recorder positions. There are glaring omissions that are certainly not reflected in your analysis. He's getting after me on this, that are incredibly impacted. Your analysis does not take into consideration operational and functional work that our mayor and town council undertake each day. The municipal mayors and council members do not have to contend themselves. Some of the municipalities have highly paid city managers, paid department heads, employees, paid clerks, engineers, building inspectors, court clerks, procurement clerks, IT specialists, planners, to name a few. For the most part, each of these tasks are absorbed by the mayor and council members of Harpers Ferry. We don't have paid staff to do these functions. Our elected officials take on these added responsibilities that other municipalities, elected officials do, that other municipalities do have to. So such worth and value of this work is not, nor has it ever been factored into a reasonable compensation package for the mayor and town council in Harpers Ferry.
And we did talk about this some in budget and finance. It's a chicken and egg situation where I think it's the ambition to be able to have staff that will be able to do a lot of these things and take the burden off of the town council, but we're not there yet. So I think when we look at it, and it's going to go back around to budget and finances, how do we find that sweet spot for being able to get the work of the town done, but not making it so that we can't hire professionals to do some of these things.
And as I see the issue, the reason I think we need to compensate more is because we're going to miss a certain element of our community that might not want to serve, because it's just not paying, it's paying peanuts. We're talking about people, seniors who are under fixed income. We're talking some blue collar workers, or just people who just feel like it's just not fair to work for almost for peanuts. So I think as our town population is so small, we need every single person we can get, and we need good quality people to serve. And if a little bit of extra money helps draw somebody into serving their community, so be it.
Yeah, I agree that it needs to come up some. I also believe there's a hazard for making it so attractive that people might be attracted to run for public office just for the money. But I don't think we're talking about going to that scale.
Yeah, but I did a calculation, and I would say that the town council works about a minimum about 16 hours a month, which is equivalent to $10 an hour, $10.50 an hour.
I mean, ultimately, we need to be hiring people and not thinking of our elected officials as employees, but we're not there yet.
So that was my report.
Thank you, Christian. I think it's well worth taking this to the next step of discussions and
Just want to make sure everybody in the public knows.
yeah, Kevin and I was talking with Kevin before the meeting started, trying to reflect back in 2008, 2006, what the salaries were back then. And I think the mayor back then was, I want to say 3,000, if that. Council people were 1,500, I think, and Kevin's recorder was somewhere around 2,000. And it certainly is not reflective of the amount of work and the amount of personal time that all seven of us put in for this town. And there are other municipalities that don't have similar responsibilities that we have, like a police department or a water plant, that even makes things a little bit more difficult as far as time consumption. So Christian, move forward and have some additional discussions and see where we go from there. Thank you. Water Department, Steve?
Good evening, everybody. Let me, I'll run through what I've got here and hopefully get all the information you want. I'll start month to date. I pulled some numbers as of through last night. It's just for the month of December, but we've pumped about 2,319,000 gallons up to the storage tanks. That's averaging about 211,000 gallons a day. So it's just in terms of our production. The tanks have been maintained anywhere from 76% full, and these numbers I think are taken at essentially at midnight each night. 76% full was the low. That was at the beginning of the month as we were coming really off of the Thanksgiving period, and as high as 96% full. And we've been averaging over this period of time about 89% full for the tanks. So the tanks at midnight have been averaging somewhere around 90%. Chemical usage. This is something that we are looking at. I am looking at chemical suppliers as well. But one of the things that we've been focusing on is our largest consumption of chemical, and I think it's probably one of the more expensive ones too, is our coagulant. And over the last 10 days of production, we've consumed about 140 pounds, which is averaging about 14 pounds a day. I went back and I looked at comparable period in November. Actually, it was a period of 17 days where we were running somewhere in the order of about 36, 37 pounds a day. Wow. So we're down to 14, which is very much the right direction on this trend. When I went back and I pulled our usage for our purchases of this chemical for 2020, 2021, and what we have purchased for 2022, that averages out to about 25 to 27 pounds a day. So and that was before that. Some of that was before the new system. So it gives you a ballpark of about mid-20s that we were running at. Something was going on where we were, like way up in the mid-30s last month. But now we're actually, hopefully, we're going to be finding that we're about half of what we were using, before we put the new system in. That's, so we want to keep an eye on that, and talking about, Deb talked about operating costs and all the rest, and that's a biggie. A little bit on safety. We're gathering up our safety data sheets. That's important to have all those available and available to our own staff, but also to be readily available to first responders. If they come through the door, they should know what's there and how to appropriately deal with it. I have had the air packs refilled courtesy of the Friendship Fire Department. We've got 2 air packs. I guess the guys were using or do use to go in and do any kind of change in the tanks in the chlorine room. Critical that they have protection. I think though we are going to look at something that's not as bulky as the tank, one of the cartridge, full face cartridge masks to do that routine work, and then have the air packs there really for the purpose of if something really goes wrong, they have that air supply to turn to. I've also asked Sean Beanie to be our safety officer. I have not really kind of scoped out or defined that role, but it's it's something that I think we really do have to have. Everybody needs to be focused on safety, but to have basically one person who is really kind of overseeing or coordinating that. And I've asked Sean, and he's expressed an interest and willingness to do that. We're continuing to work on our cleanup and our organization. Greg was mentioning earlier about a ribbon cutting ceremony, and I think we'd probably be looking out towards the spring once the weather gets good, but that also will give chance for, let's say, all the construction dust to settle and give us a chance to really kind of get in. And we've got a lot of cleaning to do. It's not just dust, but we really have to let the electrical contractors finish up and get all their stuff out before we start going in and kind of clearing out and throwing out our stuff, because I don't want to be inadvertently throwing out their stuff. I did reach out, actually, Chief Brown was helpful. I reached out to him to get a contact at the Homeland Security, the county's Homeland Security office, to identify a fuel supplier. We do have this new generator, and because of the consumption, should we have a power outage, just when everything gets tough to manage, that's when we would need the fuel, because it would consume about a tank's full of fuel in a 24-hour period of running nonstop at load. So anyhow, I do have a name of a supplier that I need to get a contract in place with, but we have identified somebody who will. They won't guarantee that the fuel will be there, but they will give us a letter that says that utilities such as ours, hospitals and first responding units are at the top of their list should there be a natural disaster, if you will. So that's about as good as we could expect to get at that point. But also Homeland Security Office did tell me, Steve Allen there told me that if something really major were to happen for an extended period of time and the National Guard were to get involved, that basically it would be through that office that we would work with to get additional emergency supplies. We did have a final training from Chris Eckenrode at GDNF when he was here. Now that's a couple of weeks since this body has last met. I don't know, Laurel, if you want, I have some notes from the final update meeting that was sort of the final, was next to final update meeting that was held this week.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just a few of the things that I had captured. They will do a final change order. One of the things that, and there was some money left in the project. I think they were saying about $8,000. And so they wanted to basically figure out if there are any, loose ends to tie up. One of the things that I am most encouraged by with that discussion is they did leave there's the water supply line into the chlorine room had not been swapped out. And there was not really sure why, but it wasn't. And there was a saddle, one of these saddle piercing valves, a saddle valve that was piercing that so that we could have a hose bib, and which has been leaking. It certainly would appear has been a very small leak for years. But the key thing there was if we had lost that bib, if we lost that saddle valve, actually, the plant would have been in an emergency shutdown until we had gotten a plumber in to be able to do that work for us. So since we've got, the plumbers who changed the rest of the line, did all the plumbing, the new plumbing in the chemical room, they are gonna, that's gonna get kind of factored into the final change order. So I'm quite happy about that we're not gonna, hopefully that will avoid an emergency midnight call at some point that, we just lost water to the chlorine room. The status of the schedule, the notes that I took was that end of project was aimed for December the 15th. And they were looking at a change order, probably set that, they said end of the year, which I'm assuming was December 31st, just to Eli. Alvarez was looking just to, the Alvarez rep was just looking to, again, be able to tie up a lot of the loose ends. The electricians are still doing some work on the offices, and they're working from what I can see, as steadily as possible to, to get that work done. I guess Chris Eckenrode will send an electrical engineer to go through the final punch list. So he is putting together a list, punch list of items still to be completed. They're financially, there are submittals, quality of work statements, application of payments that I think Deb's all got totally under control over there. And that was of the major things. That's what I had. I did. Paul will perform a 1-year follow-up visit. That sounded like it'd be 1 year from the majority completion. What was the completion date? Substantial completion, which was October-ish, I think. So we could anticipate that next fall. Copies of the code are on their way to Eli, and we'll work out where those get stored in case that's the programmable logic control. And as Chris Eckenrode described, that we retain that. Really, should Paul at some point just vaporize and go away, we don't want to be left with something that all the code goes with them at that point. Not that we would ourselves know really what to do with it, but at least we'd have it and could get it into the hands of somebody who hopefully would be able to put it to use for us. Chris Eckenrode is going to assist me in writing a disaster recovery plan. GDNF has also shared an EPA link to do self-assessment vulnerability. And so I think, Mr. Mayor, you had asked me to talk to him specifically about that. And they said the first step is probably for us to go through the self-assessment, and then we could always go back to them if we had that data and wanted, further assistance. So I guess there's a tentative January closeout meeting if it's needed, which I made a note would be like the final closeout meeting, which I guess was the 12th, scheduled for the 12th of January. But that's somewhat tentative, only if needed. I think that's what I had for kind of highlights of my notes for that meeting.
And did they determine the telemetry, whether are they still investigating?
So we did have, there was the signal we get down from the tanks. We had we've noticed two abnormalities, 2 instances of each since I've been there. And 2 of them where the signal went to 0. So that's signal that comes down off the tanks, and the signal is normally between 4 and 20 milliamps or whatever, actually dropped to 0. And that they have determined that one, and they've resolved that. That was basically they were rebooting their system, the telemetry system. And when they reboot, that signal gets lost. And the problem we had was the controller on the plant saw it immediately and responded immediately. And as soon as it saw that the tanks went from, whatever it is, 30 feet of water or 20 feet of water up there, it saw that the tanks were immediately emptied. And so it shut the plant down. So we've said, no, that's not realistic, that, give it a little pause in there. And so that's going to clear out, that issue. The other issue that we had is we've seen a couple of instances where that signal has flatlined. So they read the signal, the control panel reads the signal every minute and reports it every 15. And we saw like a period of 6 hours where it was just rock steady. It didn't have any variation to it or whatever. We've been back and forth about what's the cause of that and whose responsibility is it. And it sounds like it's the telemetry system at this point. I think I have a commitment that they're going to fix it. They will identify it and fix it. I don't know exactly who, it will be either the PAL programmable logic controller people or the telemetry people with their logic controller, but somehow we'll figure out, what's wrong with that and get that.
Is that
fixed.
sort of thing generally covered under the warranty of work?
Well, yeah, and this is one we've seen it now. So I would say, we don't really want to sign off and say this is done until they can at least give us, show us a plan to how they're going to resolve it with some kind of commitment to resolve it. There was some discussion of whether or not it was because they had lost cell service. But I don't think that was necessarily enough 6 hours, in the middle of the night. There was some discussion about, this doesn't really make a difference because the plant wasn't running and, it was the middle of the night, but actually it does. Because if we lose that signal, if it flatlines, let's say it flatlines and we're very close to full in the tanks and we don't get an updated signal, for, 6 hours, we could be, just pumping water over the top of the tanks, for that period of time until the signal comes back live. So it is an issue that's important to us that they should fix. Again, Law, we don't really know exactly who owns it.
Well, I was thinking more about going forward once it is believed to be
If
set.
we lose it, I think that we've documented it. So my thinking is if we see it again, we're going to say, no, you haven't fixed it. It's reoccurring and we do have to fix it. I would like to use that system. We got all this telemetry stuff in place. I would like to potentially piggyback onto that to potentially control the Potomac pumps. There's an underground cable that goes from our property under the railroad track onto Matt and Hott's campground property where we've got the pumps. And there's some question whether or not that cable has been, what the condition of that cable is. And quite honestly, the work of whoever would be responsible for, digging up a cable or running another one through that route just doesn't make any sense if we could do this with, telemetry that we already basically have the majority of the system in place. So we haven't scoped that out yet, but I'd like them to get this telemetry issue done, and then we could look at, at that as a potential solution for, for our backup pumps, should we?
Well, hopefully, Steve, that telemetry system is not used in hospital ERs.
Probably not. But it's a strange little corner down there that, oftentimes my cell phone doesn't work at the plant.
Yeah.
So I go home and all of a sudden it starts, buzzing and all the rest stuff gets, normally when I'm down there, I connect into the Wi-Fi and get my calls, so, but we are getting, it seems like we're getting a good signal, down from the tanks on a pretty regular basis, but.
Good. Any other questions for Steve?
Yes, Steve. Steve, as we've recently seen with the Duke Power incident in North Carolina, I was wondering what is being done to, and whether it's necessary to increase the security of our plant from possible terrorist attacks. That was, I guess you all know, that a very small county in North Carolina, they lost their power because of terrorists shooting up the generators, transformers rather, in the power plant. And it seems like there are some people planning to or looking at attacking public utilities to create problems for municipalities. So I was wondering what are we doing with regards to do we need to further enhance our security at the plant, and if not, is this being looked into?
I think the short answer is I think there's always something we could be doing to improve our security. That would be short-sighted of me to say, oh, we're fine, we're all set. The mayor had asked me just last week about speaking to GD&F, the engineering firm that's this whole thing, whether that's something that they could assist us with. Not as part of the $6 million project that's now done, but in addition to. And they have, so I did ask them, you know, if that's something that they would be able to do, and they have pointed me to a self-assessment tool that the EPA publishes.
Okay.
And their suggestion was that we take that on ourselves initially, do an assessment. And they said that we can do that assessment on any number of different levels or different level of detail. But that if we got through that assessment and then decided we wanted to engage them to take a look at our results or come up with work with us in some kind of a plan, that, you know, that is something that they could do, or we could also, you know, we would probably bid that out if we're going to do it. We are looking at some security, you know, in terms of cameras and system security and all the rest. Deb had our IT crowd down to look at some of that. But again, you know,
There's always more, right?
There's always more. There's always, you know, so we are thinking about some of it. We probably,
Good.
you know, we're probably not thinking enough about it yet. You know, you know, it certainly is, you know, kind of.
It sounds like you're making a good start, and that's what I was concerned about. I think I'm freezing here. Oof. Just froze. Hello. Yeah.
I mean, you've got all kinds of vulnerabilities, and we'll look at that. I don't want to, you know.
It's a good idea.
Whatnot.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, well, thank you for starting.
Security.
Right, yes, yeah, right. That's, you know, we will, yeah, hopefully chat with them a little bit more once we, you know, kind of get. our
Thank
feet
you.
on the ground.
In general, thank you for your diligence into
Thanks, Dave.
starting to
Thank
create
you.
metrics that can be compared over time.
Great, okay. All set?
Appreciate it, Steve. Thanks.
Laurel, Border Commission, anything to
Just have
report?
one thing to just mention, which is that Alvarez has shown us that we do have spring water coming into our intake. I think I mentioned that last month. We will have to add automatic pressure release valves in order to get the most of that spring water. If we do not put these automatic pressure release valves in, it limits the flow of water that can come from the spring, and then our water will mainly be Elk Run. So right now, our water is mainly from Elk Run, and with not so much spring water come in until we get those valves in.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to say about that.
Okay, thank you.
The
Who's going to do the water treatment improvement, the engineer's report?
the engineer's report, I believe that basically Steve covered the
Okay,
that.
okay. Resolution 21. Debbie, you going to do that for us? We have to read for the record.
And before I do that, I'll just add that to what Steve was saying about the fact that there's a small surplus in the monies that are that were budgeted. And so if you recall, there was a drywall project that that we were going to fund out of our own budget. So they will fold that into the project that we will not be invoiced directly for that. So there's a few odds and ends like that they're going to try to scoop up and get in there. Resolution number 21 of the town of Harpers Ferry approving invoices relating to the construction and other services for the water project and authorizing payment thereof. Whereas the town of Harpers Ferry has reviewed the invoices attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference in relation to the construction of the water project funded by the United States Department of Agriculture, and finds as follows. Number one, that none of the items for which payment is proposed have been requested from another source. Number two, that each item for which the payment is proposed to be paid is or was necessary in connection with the project and constitutes a cost of the project. Number three, that each of such costs has been otherwise properly incurred. Number four, that payment for each of the items proposed is due and owing. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the town of Council of Harpers Ferry that the payment of the attached invoice as summarized below are hereby authorized and directed. Gwynn Dobson and Foreman, $4,225.75. Alvarez Contractors, $84,000.90 for a total of $88,226.65. Adopted by the Council the town of Harpers Ferry at a meeting held on this 12th day of December 2022.
Thank you. Motion to approve resolution 21.
Move to pay resolution number 21, pay application number 18 for the water treatment facility improvements as presented.
Second on the motion. Second from Laurel. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
7-0. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie.
Park.
Parking committee, I met with Christian and Patrick Tierney the other day, and I'll turn it over to Christian.
So parking committee has met with the mayor. Parking committee's also met with the staff and the chief. And well, of course, he's part of the parking committee and Alyssa. And we're working on some changes. They're not done. So we'll be working on that. But the parking for next year, at least for residents, is not changing. So in January, we're going to start again the parking stickers. I don't know what color. We've got a new color. So come to see Melissa as our police clerk, and she will issue those stickers for your cars. But we're looking at adding 2 more categories. We're looking at adding for businesses. Now, this is on Camp Hill zone up here, and also contractors. So that's in work in progress. We're going to have special passes for them. So as for the seasonal thing, we looked at doing one thing. I had something last year. We're not going to do that one, where we're going to close the for parking and all on storm days. So then we went to alternate street parking on one side of the road. That's a big thing up north. We're not going to do that either. So what we're going to do is something voluntary. The mayor is volunteered to write a letter that'll be sent to the residents along Washington Street and Washington Street, asking them to pull their cars off the street during storm weather.
And they will be reminded that we are shoveling their sidewalks for them for free.
Correct. And
which the ordinance calls that residents must, so little, you do me, I do you.
Right. So with that, that's it for the parking committee.
Thank you, Christian. Kevin, do you have anything on ordinance? Okay. Planning, Chris?
Yeah, one thing folks need to know is that because of to accommodate the holiday schedule, Planning Commission will be meeting tomorrow night instead of next week on its regular date. And reporting on the November meeting, we November 22nd. We followed up on work resulting from our comprehensive plan launch the previous week. My hope is that final action on that work will take place in tomorrow's meeting, resulting in passage of Planning Commission bylaws, public input procedures, and recommendations on ordinance changes for Article 133, the Planning Commission. Also, tomorrow night, we'll be discussing on stakeholders to engage in the comprehensive plan process. The other things that happened on November 22nd, we had some new property owners in town and had a discussion with them about access to their property via a paper street or an undeveloped street instead of the paved street on the other side of their property. And we also held some discussion on the tree committee status as under the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. I think there's going to be some further discussion on that tomorrow with possibly a recommendation to council and ordinance review committee to make some revisions in Article 1104. And that's it as far as the report. We do have some nominations. Want me to move right into that? Okay, we had two terms or two members of the Planning Commission whose terms expired at the end of this year. And I am pleased to report that both of them have requested to be reappointed to the Planning Commission. And so I would like to move to reappoint Tim Weiscarver.
Chris, we just take nominations. We just take nominations.
No motion.
No motion.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So
I nominate Tim Weiscarver and Roberta Mead Curry to the Harpers Ferry Planning Commission for terms ending December 31st, 2025.
okay, are there any other nominations? Hearing none. Kevin, would you call roll?
Oh, sorry.
yes.
Before calling roll, is it confirmed that these seats are up? I know there was a lot of changing around and all that. Great.
Okay. When your name is called, you will announce the name of the nominees that you would like to appoint to the Planning Commission, Tim Weiscarver and Roberta Mead Curry. Chris Craig,
I vote aye on both nominees.
Storm DeCostanzo,
I vote aye on both.
Laurel Drake,
Aye on both.
Jerry Hutton,
Aye on both.
Christian Petroconis,
I am both.
and I vote yes to both. Mayor,
Yes.
Tim Weiscarver and Roberta Mead Curry are reappointed to the Planning Commission for terms expiring 31st December, is that 25?
25.
2025, yeah.
Mhm.
And then shall I move right into
Go ahead to number 3.
tree committee? We also have two members of the tree committee whose terms expire at the end of this year. We have only heard at this point from one of them requesting reappointment. And that was Christy Huddle. This possibly may mean that we will need another member beginning at the beginning of 2023. So I invite all of council members and members of the public here tonight to think about folks who might like to serve the town in on this committee. But at this point, I nominate Christy Huddle to the Harpers Ferry Tree Committee for a term ending December 31st, 2024.
The chair is calling for other nominations. Hearing none. Kevin?
Okay, because there's only one nominee for this appointment, you vote yes or no when your name is called. Chris Craig,
Aye.
Storm DeCostanzo,
Yes.
Laurel Drake,
Yes.
Jerry Hutton,
Yes.
Christian Petroconis,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. Christy Huddle is reappointed to the Tree Committee for the term expiring 31st December 2024.
Thank you. Chris, go right into the second part, which would be planning 4G number 4, which is discussion regarding organizational placement of the tree committee.
Yeah, discussion and action because it was.
Right.
Nothing to report on that. That's going to be some more discussion for tomorrow night's meeting.
Gotcha. That makes it simpler. Landmarks, Christian?
Landmarks Commission has been very active lately. We'll be meeting our regular meeting next Monday. And we've been working on workshops every month for the past few months, working on Appendix A. We're fairly close now to presenting this. Originally, we wanted to present it directly to the town council, but we've given it some thought and we wanted to present it to the Planning Commission as well as the Board of Zoning Appeals. And we would like our town attorney to have a look at the the appendix,
Okay.
and then bring it to the town council. We want to make sure we have a really solid document before you for voting, for vote. Okay, we are working on the welcome letter, which is a letter we've been working on for a long time. It is all done. The mayor has approved it. I believe it's been submitted to the state SHPO, and so we're waiting on their approval to actually send this letter out to residents. We're going to send it to all residents and business owners in Harpers Ferry regarding historic standards and keeping their houses up and their buildings up to our standards. We did do recommendations for 2 properties for Kevin Hamilton or for the Board of Zoning Appeals for property number 899 West Washington Street. And the other property was 844 East Ridge Street. And we looked both of what they had presented to the Historic Landmarks Commission. And by the way, I've noticed that now we're getting much better applications for showing that they have actually read through our Appendix A that has the standards in there, and I can tell they're working real hard to mimic or get as close as possible to the intent of that document. So that's it for historic landmarks. I do want to talk about a nomination. One of our members, Tommy Van Vliet, has requested that his term ends in January 31st, 2023, and he'd like another term. He's a great addition to the town. He's done an awesome job. I'm really, really excited that he serves for historic landmarks.
Do you mean that his term expires?
It expires.
2022, right?
No, it expires at the end of January of this coming year, but he wants to extend it out to what are they, 5-year terms?
I don't remember whether it's 5 years or 3 years.
I feel like I've been there forever on historic landmarks. I've been there a long time. It's 5.
We also had this.
Oh, and we have another one. Yes, I forgot. Yeah, I didn't have that. Also, we have another nomination. Yeah, it's come, all nominations go to the mayor. This is from George Owens, and he wants to be considered for filling the vacancy. We have one of our members, unfortunately, is going to step down at the end of the month. Karen Sakisi, who's done an awesome job in historic landmarks. Somebody who's never had any background at all in historic things. She had picked it up quickly, and unfortunately, as soon as she's up to speed, she's leaving us. She's gonna not move from Harpers Ferry. She's just going to school, so she will miss her. So George Owens has asked. He has a real deep interest in maintaining the historical character of our town, and he actually came to one of our meetings. He really enjoyed the experience, and he felt he could be a good addition. And I can tell you, he really does understand what we do in that group. He's a very historic oriented person.
So go ahead, Christian, put the nominations on the floor.
I nominate Tommy Van Vliet and George Owens for terms on the Historic Landmarks Commission.
And their terms would.
Tommy's would start and I guess February 1st. Right, of 2020.
His would end, Tommy's would end January 31, 2028.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
And George, if selected, would end January 21, 2027.
21 or 31.
Well, he's taking over Karen's spot, so I don't know how.
Yeah, Karen's ends
I can tell you.
2027, January 31st.
Okay.
All right, so we have 2 nominations on the floor. Any other nominations for historic landmarks? Kevin?
Give me just a moment. Okay. When your name is called, announce the name of the person you would like to vote for to take a seat on the Historic Landmarks Commission. They were Tommy Van Vliet and George Owens. Chris Craig.
Yes, on both.
Storm D. Costanzo,
Yes, on both.
Laurel Drake,
Yes, on both.
Jerry Hutton,
Yes, on both.
Christian Petroconis,
Yes, for Tommy Van Vliet, and yes, for George Owens.
and I vote yes to both. Mayor,
Yes, both.
Tommy Van Vliet is appointed to the Historic Landmarks Commission for the term expiring 31st January 2028. George Owens is appointed to the Historic Landmarks Commission for the term expiring 31st January 2027.
Okay, Christian?
Okay, one more item, on historic landmarks discussion action regarding the procurement and relocating radio wave street light fixtures. Now, our town has, if you look at their shades, they're like wavy. If you really look close, that's why they're called radio wave street lights. So the mayor has asked the Historic Landmarks Commission to see what our needs are. He asked specifically about Shenandoah Street, but we really felt that we need to focus on Washington Street first, because we do have 3 or 4 poles missing lights. This town ordered 88 lights back in the day, long time ago, with no backups. That's why I am recommending that we start looking to buy more of these lights. Just this past week, we got a donation from a Bolivar resident of a light that was probably for Bolivar, the town. And we got another resident, I'm not mentioning names, but they may also donate a light to Harper's Ferry that was the original light, not the original, but the ones prior to the wave lights that we currently have, the radio wave lights. But we will need to spend money on these to get them restored, as well as the light that was over at Columbia Street. That was a hanging light in the street. And then we have the 2 lights on the post office. I know they're not street lights, but they definitely need to be restored as well. So we'll deal with that in budget and finance when it comes up. What else did I have? I'll work with the power company to get, we have one light fixture sitting in the recorder's office right now. And if we get these other lights restored, then I'd like to put those old lights down in Lower Town. They really belong in the most historic part of our town, and relocate those current lights we have up the hill to cover some of the gaps we have on Washington Street. But there are other gaps within the town as well. We're going to need more lights than this to really fill in. When we change bulbs from the incandescents, which have been burning out, we went to LEDs. The LEDs are supposedly equivalent in output, but they're not really doing the job as well as the bulbs. So we need to have every light pole with a light on it. We're just going to need the light for the town.
Yeah, and to continue to pursue bulbs that'll do a better job of diffusing light.
Yeah. And there's no action to be taken. This is just to keep you in the loop.
Okay, thanks, Christian.
Okay.
Parks and Rec, Patty, do you want me to cover? Yeah. I don't know what I'm covering. I'm going to cover
Nomination.
the nomination, but before I get to that, I don't know if anybody here attended, I think Chris did, the tree lighting ceremony at the gazebo. Yeah, Chris was there, and it was a very nice, very well done. And the same 2 girls helped me put the plug in for the tree that come evidently every year. So Patty, thanks for putting that together again. What you have before you is we have Karen Sagisi resigned from the Parks and Rec Commission. And you have a nominee who's expressed an interest, Zach Morris, to fill the unexpired term of Karen Sagisi. And I just will say for the record that there is no nepotism and there is no conflict of interest on this, because there is no financial incentive involved. And under West Virginia code, that is the screen out element. So Patty's not paying a salary to Zach to be on there at $50,000 a year or whatever it would be. So I just wanted everybody to know that there is no conflict of interest. There is no nepotism. So we have one nomination on the floor, and the chair will call for other nominations. Kevin?
Okay, there's One nomination, Zach Morse, for appointment to the Parks and Recreation Commission. When your name is called, answer yes or no to appointment of the nominee. Chris Craig,
I vote yes.
Storm DiCostanzo,
Yes.
Laurel Drake,
I will say I have to vote no, not that I very much appreciate Zach's contribution. He wants to do this, but I don't believe we should put family members on the same commission just because of the voting power. But other than that, I welcome and really appreciate your wanting to serve.
okay, Jerry Hutton,
Vote yes.
Christian Petroconis.
Yes.
I vote yes, Mayor.
Aye, yes.
Zach Morse is appointed to the Parks and Recreation Commission for the term expiring 31st January 2024.
Okay. Board of Zoning Appeals, we have a request. Make sure I get this right now.
It's an alternate,
Pardon me?
an alternate.
Yeah, we have Chad Gauthier is resigning as
A regular.
a regular member of the BZA.
Right.
But he wants to fill the alternate seat on the BZA. And he has submitted his request to do that. Is that, do I have that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
I might mention that I think the situation is Chad feels he cannot regularly attend the hearings, but he is still willing to fill in when there's a need for a quorum. And I believe that is his reasoning.
Okay.
And the Board of Zoning Appeals is down to 3 members without the alternate. So there, it's really tight. If anybody out there wants to serve, as long as you've been a resident 3 years or more, you can serve on that board.
Definitely needs some new members.
Yeah.
More members. Yeah.
All right, Chair will call for other nominations. Hearing none. Kevin?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Which of the alternate seats?
Number one, I believe, was it not number one? I think it was the first one.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, which expires 1st January 2024.
I think that's correct. That's correct.
Okay,
Or it's going to be correct.
okay.
Well, we have no other alternates. Say alternative.
All right, go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, when your name is called, answer yes or no for appointment of Chad Gauthier to an alternate seat on the Board of Zoning Appeals. Chris Craig,
I vote yes.
Storm DiCostanzo,
Yes.
Laurel Drake,
Yes.
Jerry Hutton,
Yes.
Christian Petroconis.
Yes.
I vote yes, Mayor.
Yes.
Chad Gauthier is appointed to an alternate seat on the Board of Zoning Appeals for the term expiring 1st January 2024.
Thank you. Organizational other reports, Library Board discussion action on appointment to fill term on the Bolivar Harpers Ferry Library Board.
Yes, Mayor, in October, I nominated Maggie Rock for an unexpired term to the library board. That was my error because the term that she was asking to serve on had actually expired. So I'd like to correct my error and nominate Maggie Rock to serve on the Harpers Ferry Bolivar Library Board for a new 5-year term to expire June 2027.
Is that 1st of June?
I believe the end of June. I'm not, yes, it's
She's
the
at
end
the
of
end.
June.
Any other nominations from the floor? Hearing none. Kevin?
Okay. For appointment of Maggie Rock to the Bolivar Harpers Ferry Public Library Board. Chris Craig,
I vote yes.
Storm DiCostanzo,
Yes.
Laurel Drake,
Yes.
Jerry Hutton,
Yes.
Christian Petroconis.
Yes.
I vote yes, Mayor.
Yes.
Maggie Rock is appointed to the Bolivar Harpers Ferry Public Library Board for the term expiring 30th of June 2027.
Okay. Item number 7A, discussion action approval 2022 employee holiday schedule.
So that.
I have a correction to that.
Okay, go ahead for the record, Kevin.
It's actually an addition. There was a date missing on the schedule that was presented to us, and that was West Virginia Day, June 20th. It's on the state website.
Okay, so we can amend this and approve it based on the amended change, okay, with the addition of West Virginia Day of June 20,
June 20.
okay?
That will be our 160th anniversary as a state.
1863.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
All right, motion to the floor.
I move to add West Virginia Day, June 20th to the employees' holiday schedule. No,
Well, it's approval of the employees, the 2023.
it's the whole thing, but it will now include it. I see. Okay. I move to approve the 2022 employees' holiday schedule as amended.
Second on the motion.
23,
Have a second from, what do we got?
2023.
So I was reading off of the item in the agenda, which had 2022, when it is in fact
Yeah,
the
it should have been
2023. So I think we need to vote this down.
Or you can withdraw your motion. It hasn't been seconded yet.
All right, let's, go ahead, Storm. Third time's a charm.
I move to approve the 2023 employee holiday schedule as amended.
Great. Thank you. And got a second from Chris. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
I'm want to note that I'm just relieved that Storm is comfortable with giving them Christmas Day off in addition to West Virginia Day.
I'm for all holidays. That's my jam.
And yeah, I need to announce.
We turn the floor over to Kevin for a minute.
Okay, this is just a comment here, but I have to announce publicly that the filing period for candidates for the 2023 municipal election begin around the middle of January. I don't know the exact date, is somewhere around the 15th and continues through the last Friday of January. So if anyone needs any further information, they can get in contact with me. And the filing form will be on the town website before the 1st of January.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Save it to the last day.
Yes.
All right, due to the authority invested in West Virginia Code 69A-4 exceptions to the Open Meetings Act, I am recommending that this council go into executive session to discuss compensation for town employees. I need a motion to go in. We have.
I so move.
And do I have a second on the motion? Second from Storm. Discussion on the motion to go into executive session. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, we are in executive session at 9:19 PM. We're going to adjourn, council, and go downstairs, and that way it'll give the sound an opportunity to start cleaning up here, so I don't have to wait around till midnight.
Jerry, Melissa
Yes.
has sent an email.
Okay,
Just click into that link. Give them some
okay, she's,
downstairs and then they will admit you into that meeting. It will automatically take you out of this meeting. When the executive session meeting is over, come back to your original email for this meeting and click back on that link and we'll let you back in here.
okay, she has sent me another email then.
She has sent you that now.
Okay, thank you.
I could be waiting for this 6A, B, and C. Which we're already-
Yeah, I was wondering.
All right. You got a hard copy of the agenda? Yeah. All right, council, it's 9:46 PM on December 12th. We are out of executive session. We're back into session. Agenda item number
4D5.
4B5, discussion action regarding compensation plan of elected officials for FY 23-24.
No,
No motion.
no motion, no, not
That's
that one.
elected
You
officials.
want to do the water one, right?
Or D5.
Or D5.
Executive session now.
Okay, discussion action regarding wage scale salary of water plant employee.
I move to assign Waterworks employee Ryan Slusher to operator in training step 5, effective December 19, 2022.
You have a second on the motion. You have a second from Chris. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Miss 7-0.
Missed that page.
Where am I, Kevin?
I can't even find it.
4C2.
Yeah, 4C2, there it is.
Okay. Discussion and action regarding approval of salary pay scale for town hall employees.
I move to assign the following current town hall employees to the new pay scales as follows. Financial officer, step 6. Coordinator, step 7. Town clerk, step 4. Maintenance control officer, step 7. Public works administrator, step 1. Maintenance specialist, step 9.
Discussion on the motion.
I second.
I knew that. Second, Chris. Chris, now is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 7-0. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Dorm, second from Chris. All those in favor? Aye. We are
Aye.
adjourned at 9:49 PM.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to all of you. The tech was terrific. Could hear everybody. Thank you.
All right.
Bye now. See you soon.